Hi, welcome to Chamber Chats, as in Chamber of Commerce. I'm Bruce Williams, CEO of the Greater Victoria Chamber of Commerce. These presentations are brought to you by our friends at Island Savings, a division of First West Credit Union, and we're doing this in the studios of Czech Television. Your shopping habits have changed. The place you shop, where you shop, why you shop, and how you shop has all changed as we move ourselves through this pandemic period right now. We're going to talk about that today. Three different points of view are going to be joining us to talk about that. Shannon Toogood, first of all, is the Business Development Manager for the BIA, or the Business Improvement Association in beautiful Sydney. Geoffrey Beattie is on the board and is past chair of the board of the Bay BIA, Business Improvement Association. And Jeff Bray is the executive director of the Downtown Victoria Business Association. And Geoffrey, I'm going to begin with you. You're a business owner. You're one of the people who on a daily basis has had to completely change the way you do business. You have a jewelry store. So give me a little snapshot of what that's looked like for you.
Well, when the pandemic started, of course, we were closed for the first 2 weeks. Following that, we were open by appointment only and just about really one customer at a time. And since, say, mid-June, we went through to allowing up to 3 different customers in the store at any given time. Still now, we're working off appointments only with the odd, walk-in customer. But, the door's locked and they have to be greeted at the door and ensure that we're not at maximum capacity. So things have changed a lot. Most people are contacting us ahead of time to organise appointments, and they already know basically what they're wanting to look for or look at. And so we're booking them into our calendars and working from there.
It's appointment shopping, really, isn't it?
Yeah, basically that's how it's turned into now. So we're not dealing with as many customers. However, the ones that we're dealing with typically know what they want, and provided we can provide them with that, then they're able to make decisions. And more often than not, we've noticed the average sale has gone up as well.
Okay.
So
yeah, we'll come back to that in a minute here. Shannon Toogood, you as the Beacon Avenue, the Sydney Business Improvement Association, you're kind of the downtown for the Saanich Peninsula, for Central Saanich, North Saanich, and Sydney. And with more people working at home, how has that changed the dynamic on Beacon Avenue?
I think that we've been very fortunate in Sydney that we haven't seen an immense decrease in the amount of people that are going for afternoon walks along Beacon Avenue. We still have a lot of window shoppers. We still have people popping into their favorite stores. And we really have overemphasized the importance of shopping local and putting a face behind the businesses. So demonstrating to people that you're not just supporting a big box store, but you're supporting your neighbor that lives around the block from you. And the fact that you are going on a walk and buying a coffee from them is making a huge impact in their life. So we're very fortunate in Sydney.
What do you hear about day-to-day retail operations? Are there people that are showing noticeable increases because people are working from home, therefore shopping closer to home? Because another thing about Sydney, if you haven't been out there lately, the number of cranes in the air and the construction and the big, holy man, there's so much going on there. But what do you hear sort of from your members in the BIA about their daily traffic and their volume of sales?
We have heard for the most part that at the beginning of the pandemic, obviously, there was a dramatic decrease in sales. And we were pleased to see that by the time the fall came around, businesses were reporting numbers and sales back to normal, if not even exceeding their expectations. And yes, we have a lot of construction on the go in Sydney right now, which is fantastic because that demonstrates that Sydney is continuing to grow and to be a desirable place to live. And we are excited for the next round of new businesses and new residents to move in the next year or two.
So, and a lot of that building, if I'm not mistaken, is residential, if not most of it, which means those are shoppers. You're building homes for more consumers, right?
Yes, exactly. And we're really working hard to make sure that a lot of the new construction has retail on the bottom and accommodation up top. And that so far has been the case.
Great. Jeff Bray, Downtown Victoria has been a bit of a lightning rod for the attention of the changes in the economy, especially around retail, since this whole pandemic began. And you've told the story so well through media very often, but let's do a little recap on what the nature of downtown business has become over the last year.
Sure. Well, as Shannon and Geoffrey both mentioned, when the pandemic first happened, you basically were watching tumbleweeds go down the middle of Douglas Street. It was very scary. for businesses, business owners, their employees. We have 17 hotels just in the downtown core. So the impact was immediate and it was significant. Over the course of the summer, as the provincial government brought in phase 2 and then phase 3 reopening, we saw businesses, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, do what entrepreneurs do. They adjust, they pivot, they reimagine, they reinvent. And we saw businesses, change inventory, change marketing, develop online presences that could keep them connected to their customers and finding ways to stay in front of customers' eyes. The summer, was not bad. We didn't have the normal tourism, but certainly one of the things that we didn't anticipate at the start was that office workers would not be coming back in any significant numbers. Many businesses restaurants rely on the lunch trade, the coffee, the muffin, and the lunch trade. Well, that simply didn't exist. So that was a challenge. As we went into the fall, and everybody on this call and everybody in other organizations were really putting the focus on shop local, make purposeful shopping decisions. We saw that happening. And certainly in Sydney, if you walk out and down the street, there's your store. For downtown, people had to make an extra effort in some way, either going online and then coming and picking it up curbside, or actually physically coming downtown and dining out and those things. We saw that happening in the fall. And even when the additional restrictions came in from Dr. Henry on November 20th, I had retailers in downtown who've been here 30 years who have said they had their best November ever. And that's entirely because people were working hard to shop local. I would say that we haven't seen the data yet for retail vacancies in downtown, but it is significantly less than what I would have anticipated back in August. And my sense of cautious optimism is if we continue to make those purposeful shopping decisions, keeping the money within our local regional economy, that businesses that are open today are going to make it through to when we get to a more normalized reopening in phase 4. But people should make no mistake. A lot of business owners have kept their employees working, but not taking a pay salary themselves, or a very reduced one, just to keep the doors open and everyone working. So it has certainly been impactful, but entrepreneurs have been doing what they always do, which is respond and pivot and innovate. And I'm just immensely impressed and overwhelmed by the efforts and collaboration of local businesses, and very grateful to the way Greater Victorians have responded in Sydney, in downtown, in Central Saanich and others, to really support those local businesses. Jeff Bezos is doing just fine. He doesn't need any of Greater Victoria's money, and people have really responded to that.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, you and I have both done numerous media appearances saying to people, whatever you're finding on Amazon, you can find here. You just got to look around. It might take you a little bit of work to find it, but at the end of the day, you're going to feel better about doing it because you are supporting local. That's for sure. I'm going to come back to a couple of points you made, though. But Geoffrey Beattie, I want to go back to you. You're a jeweler. Your business is one that would normally depend on people looking at shiny, beautiful things in cases and maybe trying something on. That whole tactile part of what you and so many others are doing, that's not the same anymore, is it?
Well, no. We have people hand sanitize before they come to the store. We also have UV light containers where it sanitizes product for us. So once a person stops trying on the item, it gets put into this a container. We push the light box on, and the UV sanitizes the product. So we also use ultrasonic cleaner, which when it's immersed in this hot liquid, that'll remove any germs as well. So people have been very accommodating, though. Like they appreciate the lengths that we're going to ensure their safety, and they understand that everyone's trying to do their best to get through this, and it almost feels like it's working as a team. Yeah. So it's been, in many ways, it's positives come out of it. People are very, very, like you say, they're wanting to support locally, And so they understand that we've got challenges that we have to meet, and we're all doing it the best we can. And whenever I go out shopping, and I'm impressed by how people are looking after me. And I'll pick up things as I'm going around the different stores. Oh yeah, I can use that in my store.
Oh,
So,
that's great. Cooperation, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're all in this together. We pretty much are. And everyone's trying to do the best they can, and making sure that your customers are looked after and cared for, and the way that you'd want to be treated yourself is key, I think.
Yeah. You know, all of you are a part of the greater regional economy we have here. But again, on the other hand, each of you represents rather its own little village in a way. Oak Bay Avenue is its own little culture. Beacon Avenue in Sydney is its own little culture. The boundaries of downtown Victoria, Jeff, are the same kind of thing. Shannon, what kind of things are you hearing from the merchants within your village or on Beacon Avenue about how they've been able to, we got to find another word for pivot, but how they've been able to pivot or shift over? Must have been some level of frustration in the beginning, but it's almost becoming the usual now, right? What sort of things do you hear?
Yes, most definitely. I think everybody had a shared feeling of general confusion at first of how do I go about providing a safe experience for shoppers while not taking away from the experience of shopping local? Because that's, as we've spoken before, Jeff, that's one of the most important and one of the most attractive features of shopping local is the experience. So I think that through all of the local, provincial, federal supports that were made possible, it was a bit overwhelming, I think, for many to try and navigate exactly what is right to do when there's so much information circulating and so many different opinions about, well, if you're a retailer, you should be doing it this way, or if you're a service sector, you should be doing it this way. And once everybody gathered and figured out their footing and kind of came to terms with how things were going to be, we've definitely found our stride. And I think that the Sydney businesses as a whole have been really great about supporting each other and sharing what they could determine from the latest provincial order about limitations, and being really clear in the communication between each other and communicating with the BIA as well, so that we could help out as needed. So it's overall, we've just seen a really inspiring strengthening of our local community and our local business owners.
Yeah, to look on the upside of this, which we're trying to do as much as we can, Jeff Bray, DVBA, your members have certainly bonded. They've come together. They've been a part of a creative solution and a creative management of all of this. Talk to me about that energy and what that feels like.
Sure. I mean, early on, many businesses, the Prime Minister every day, we'd all be watching and the message was stay home, stay home. So a lot of our small and medium-sized businesses, they don't have a corporate head office. They don't get a memo from on high. They're making the decisions. So they were sitting around their kitchen tables trying to figure out, will we be able to open? Is this it? Am I closed? So, one of the things that we were able to do, and I know Sydney was doing the same, the Chamber was doing the same, was being a conduit almost daily with that information and trying to digest it. The City of Victoria created a one-stop shop for business to be able to see what the latest guidelines were, the latest programs, links to how to apply. So early on, I think a lot of business owners felt very isolated. They did not have that collegial experience of being able to talk to their neighbor on Fort Street or in the Bay Centre. As we went to phase 3, a lot of those small and medium-sized business owners were back in their business. Their staff were back there. And we saw a lot of just talking with neighbors and how do we make our block safe? And it is in my best interest to make sure I'm doing things so that people feel safe coming down to my store and not leave because they don't feel safe and not go to anybody else's store. So a lot of that kind of just neighbor to neighbor, as Geoffrey said, we're all in this together. And then we saw the tech sector, for instance, in the mid-spring. A bunch of the companies just got together and said, you know what, we have the expertise in our staff. We're going to allow so many hours per week for each of our staff to donate to small businesses just to create an online presence, a basic website, basic way to collect a credit card or transfer so that those businesses could actually start doing transactions. And that was just, that happened, out of the blue. There was nobody said to do that. It was just one sector of our economy saying, how can we help? When we saw the issue with the homeless, we had some restaurant owners who had to close their doors saying, how can we help? We've got all this inventory, we've got all these skilled chefs. How can we make use of this food? And the Boxes of Hope program was born to provide meals for the homeless again during this crisis. And we just saw that continually where businesses were helping each other, and sharing the successes, sharing the challenges, speaking collectively when they needed things from statutory decision makers, the city or the province, and also connecting with their various sector associations, Retail Council of Canada, the Food and Beverage Industry Association, to get information and to provide feedback up. So a lot of that collaboration. And then, Bruce, the Chamber, the DVBA, the Harbor Authority, South Island Prosperity Partnership, also we've been meeting. I mean, Bruce and I, people are starting to talk because we're on so many calls together. But we're all saying, what can we do and how can we help and how can we collectively do things? That collaboration is something I think will be the big takeaway for me when we look back at this very difficult time. One of the positives, and I think one of the hangovers, will be a new level of collaboration that only benefits businesses, their employees, and the public.
And what people are saying when you say people are talking is the response that's happened, that's been put in place, and the motion. And I'm going to come back to you in a second, Jeff. But Shannon, you guys began the delivery service for purchasing of goods in Sydney. You made sure that they got delivered to the people who bought them. Tell me about how that came about, because that's a bit of a game changer.
Yes, for sure. So our executive director, Morgan Shaw, led that initiative, and she noticed that there was a new company called Sydney Courier that had started up last March. And she met with him, and they were able to come to a collaboration where they're providing complimentary delivery services for Sidney BIA members all throughout Greater Victoria. So you're not just out on the peninsula, we deliver all the way out to Langford, which is fantastic. To date, actually, we received stats from Sidney Courier the other day, and the total value of all the goods that he's delivered so far is $123,000.
Oh,
which is fantastic. It completely exceeded our expectations, and we are very grateful to have had this collaboration with another local business. And it's something that we intend to continue for as long as possible, and as long as the members identify that this is something that they need.
but but it is sustainable, right? I mean, that when you look at it, that kind of success, you can't walk away from that success.
Yes, most definitely. And so we have about 17 businesses that are using the services regularly. So initially, the BIA was completely covering all costs. However, of course, as these things go, then they start to become increasingly popular. And so we have to look at that in 2021 and see how the BIA can continue to support the program as it's proven to be so successful. So, but hopefully we can keep that going. And we were thrilled to see as well that Victoria was able to pick up on the idea and have that benefit their businesses as well.
Yeah, so Jeff Bray, that downtown delivers is what we're talking about there. Again, a bit of a game changer. Is that kind of stuff going to be here to stay?
We have about 1,400 members, and so we're a much larger group of members. So we have extended to February 15th. We had budgeted $100,000 to cover both the delivery charge, so it was free for both the business to deliver and the customer to receive it. We used 3 local courier companies, much like Sidney did, Maximum Express, Geozone, Echo Couriers, and Bike Cargo X Nomad Bike Couriers. We also recognize that for restaurants, the Uber Eats and others were an important tool, but they were also basically eating up the entire profits for restaurants. So we partnered with a local food delivery app, Tootie, and we cover both the delivery charge for the customer and the commission for the restaurant. As of last week, we had spent $70,000 on direct delivery charges. We extended it to February 15th. We had budgeted $100,000. which is money that we didn't spend on things like events.
Yeah.
We will see if we can extend it. It's hugely popular. And the feedback we've gotten from our members is that they know they've made sales to customers that they would never have made without it. So it wasn't just a matter of it was an encouragement. They actually saw new customers. And I'm sure that's exactly what happened out in Sidney. So for our businesses to be able to expand their customer base during a pandemic, it's been terrific. And certainly we're looking at other programs, things that we can do that meet the needs of businesses right now to keep their staff working and keep their doors open.
Yeah, I just want to quickly mention the food delivery app that you're talking about. Many people use Skip the Dishes or DoorDash or whatever it is. This one is locally owned. They actually live in the same building that our Chamber of Commerce does. Tutti is what it's called. Tutti, as in Tutti Frutti. That's the name of the company. So all of that stuff is happening. Geoffrey Beattie, I want to go back to you now. In Oak Bay, I don't believe there is anything similar to that. But on the other hand, it doesn't apply to everybody. I mean, if you're selling somebody a piece of very high-end jewelry, you don't want to stick that in a courier bag and send it off, I don't think, right? So that's not really the answer for everybody.
No, it's not. I mean, I'm sure there's some businesses, though, who would appreciate, that service to be able to provide to their customers. Out here, our budget's a lot smaller, so there's not really a lot that we could have done in that regard. But I think overall, businesses in Oak Bay seem to be getting through this. It's just a matter of time, really. And like Jeff was saying, we'll get a chance to look back on this and, see how we've done and how we've been able to help each other out in different regards.
Yeah.
Although we don't have that service available to us, we've got a good core of local people who are definitely supporting locally, and they're making the effort to come down.
Yeah, the Chamber, just so you know, we are investigating a means that we can do this region-wide. Very early stages, just we're out there giving it a try. I want to mention something else that we're doing through the Greater Victoria Chamber is we have an online social media campaign involving a hashtag, and it's hashtag ChamberLocalVicBC. The other hashtag that's going to go with it will be something to the effect of understand local. Like, what does it mean to be local? If it's a family-owned business, Geoffrey, like yours, you are uber local. You are not a part of a chain. You're not a bigger supply chain. You're a standalone, and you are who you are on your own. So hashtag ChamberLocalVicBC. Look for that online. I don't want to keep you folks too much longer, but let's try and end on as much of a positive note as we can. Shannon, I'll start with you in Sidney. What has happened over the last year that has enhanced people's business abilities and their ability to stay active and growing? What's going to stay and what's not? What has been introduced that's new that's going to continue?
I think reinforcing the importance of having an online presence, because we do have so many locally owned businesses that are predominantly owner operated. So you have somebody that's front end staff, they're marketing staff, and they're an owner. So getting them online previously, it was a bit of a slow uptick for a lot of businesses. And now it's proven that that's one of the most effective ways to get the word out about your business. And as the BIA, we're implementing new measures in order to make sure that they have the resources and the knowledge that they need to be online successfully. And we're definitely looking forward to that element sticking around. And overall, I think just the culture shift to being all in it together, I think is phenomenal. And I think that's been seen in all three of our communities. And looking forward to how that can result in greater collaboration, even along the peninsula and Greater Victoria in the future.
Yeah. And Jeff Bray, I know a lot of companies, small ones especially, were not in a position to have resource immediately available to create the technology or the web presence needed for them to do their stuff online. But there have been some sources of revenue to make that happen, some funding for that. And in a sense, that grows that tech sector too. So there's a bit of an upside to that.
Yeah. And I think, for businesses, entrepreneurs, innovate. But one of the things I think that's happened over the last year that has been, I think, a positive for businesses is by moving online the way they have, while still maintaining their unique experiential offering for people coming into the bricks and mortar, is they've expanded their customer base. They've expanded the awareness of the public to their particular products of business. The other thing is that by people, the general public, being really more purposeful, have established relationships, got to know their local clothing store owner because that was the person behind the till, or that was the person doing the delivery. And those relationships, I think, will extend far beyond any pandemic and lockdowns. And those interpersonal relationships will continue to benefit both the public and our businesses. And that's been a real positive. It's also demonstrated to many people in Victoria who might have just as easily gone to Amazon or something like that, wow, we've got some really great businesses right here, great clothing stores and great restaurants and what an array of restaurants. When people come to downtown Victoria and they see the diversity of who is leading the businesses, it's a real eye-opener, and people really love it. They can see themselves in downtown no matter who they are because of the diversity of not only the businesses but who operates them. So I think that awareness is going to last far longer than any lockdown or partial lockdown, and we'll be seeing the positive ripples for many years to come on that aspect.
Yeah, and Geoffrey Beattie, independent businesses like yours and others in Oak Bay that create that whole, again, the village feel or the local feel. There are things that have come out of this that will not change for you. So what sort of changes did you make that you're going to continue with once we're done with the pandemic?
Well, I like the idea of working by appointment, so I'm definitely wanting to continue with that. I think just understanding hygiene, and like we haven't had much of a flu this season, and the reason for that is that we've been cleaning and sanitizing. So I think that's a habit that will continue throughout, just understanding that, hey, we want to keep things clean, and maybe we can work on just the normal flu season, so I'm just looking forward to getting through this and being able to celebrate with everybody. That's going to be a great feeling, isn't it?
It's going to be a big party, and I'm going to be right in the middle of it. We're going to party like it's, yeah, for sure. Anyway,
you got that right.
Yeah, thank you all for your time today. We very much appreciate it. Geoffrey Beattie is on the board of the Oak Bay BIA, or the Business Improvement Association. Jeff Bray is the Executive Director of the DVBA, the Downtown Victoria Business Association, and Shannon Toogood is the Business Development Manager for the Sidney BIA. All the best to all of you. Stay safe, and thank you again for your time and being here.
Thank you.
So this is Chamber Chats. Again, I'm Bruce Williams from the Greater Victoria Chamber of Commerce. Our thanks to Czech Television for this podcast studio, which is available for you if you want to use it too. You can contact them about that. And thanks to our presenting sponsor, Island Savings, a division of First West Credit Union. We'll see you next time on the Chamber Chat.